But welcome, we're so happy to have you. I'm Megan Mianja, and I am the director of the online learning program for John Adams Academy. This has been a very exciting few months for us, and we are excited to share with you some of the things that we've been working on and designing for the program. So that's what we'll do this evening. But in true John Adams Academy fashion, we would like to start tonight with the pledge. So if you could all rise and put your hand on your heart, and we will begin. Ready, begin. I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate that. And I'm noticing that when I am admitting people, it's not muting everyone, and I apologize for that. I thought I had that set appropriately, but I must not. Okay. All right. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk a little bit more about John Adams Academy. We're going to talk about some of the benefits of the online program. Then we're going to talk about a day in the life of the online scholar. So we're going to get into some scheduling, what the synchronous and asynchronous schedule will look like each day. And we will also be able to look at a template in Canvas, which is our learning management system we're using. So you can kind of see what that's starting to look like. And then we'll have some Q&A. And we also, if they're able to make it on, okay, we also have a couple of teachers here tonight, which you'll also be able to meet, an elementary teacher and a secondary teacher. And they're way more exciting than me and way more important. So why John Adams Academy? So John Adams Academy is a unique and powerful institution because of the mission and the vision of our academy. And it's really the thing that drives our decision making. It was one of the reasons why we chose to do an online program, is because of our vision and our mission, which is to restore America's heritage by developing servant leaders, which are our scholars and our staff and ourselves and our parents, who are keepers and defenders of the principles of freedom for which our founding fathers pledged their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor. So at John Adams Academy, we want more for your children or for your family than just acquiring facts and skills, which is important. But in addition to that, we want them to also possess the virtues and the wisdom necessary to experience human flourishing and to be those keepers and defenders of their own freedom and the freedom of others. And how we do that is through our American classical leadership education model. And this is our graphic. So if you hear a little coughing in the background, that's my newborn. He's joining us tonight, special guest. So our model, as the graphic is showing, is built upon, here at the foundation, we see the word liberty. And so our model is built upon an acknowledgement and a respect for your scholars' right to choose and to govern themselves, which is why one of our core value number 10 is self-governance, personal responsibility, and accountability. As we, as the staff and the teachers, as mentors in their lives, we are dedicated to teaching them how to make choices that are in line with true and virtuous principles. We teach them these principles of agency, freedom, and liberty through the use of the classics and original sources in all their domains of study, even with our young scholars in the younger grades as well. Our dedicated teachers are mentors to your scholars, loving them and inspiring them to do a little better and to be a little better each day. They do this through partnering with you, as you are the first and primary mentors of your children. And that's one thing that makes me so excited about the online program is the partnership that we will have with the parents, which we do with in person, but I feel like online we're going to be able to have an even more stronger relationship and partnership in that area because we'll both be doing it together. And then lastly, John Adams Academy Incorporated operates in Northern California as the only tuition-free TK through 12 American Classical Leadership Education Charter School. So for the last 150 years or so, this type of American Classical Leadership Education was found only in the private sector through, private schools and a lot through, Christian or university-centered schools. And we are currently the only tuition-free charter school offering an American Classical Leadership Education in Northern California, which is why one of the reasons why I'm here, so that my children can attend. Because I definitely could never afford a private education for my children. So I'm so thankful to get to experience this type of model in this rich environment. Okay, so why John Adams Academy online? I'm just going to switch something on my screen really quick. So bear with me here. Okay, thank you. So why John Adams Academy online? Well, you get to experience John Adams Academy American Classical Leadership Education model in a flexible online environment. And we'll talk more about the flexibility piece a little bit later. So also through our online program is you not only get to have access to our classical curriculum, which if you were to Google the curriculum that we currently use in a lot of our grade levels, a lot of those are through, you can take those classes, but they're through private institutions that you have to pay for. But not only do your scholars and your families get to be able to experience our classical curriculum, but they also get to participate and see the benefits of our art of mentoring, which is the pedagogy and the model that we use for our teachers, and that we don't think that teachers are just people who should stand up and just instruct and give information, but they're much more than that. They are examples of virtue, and they are examples of wisdom, and they help create an environment of wonder and curiosity that your scholars get to participate in. And also another benefit of John Adams Academy Online is that you get to be involved as a parent mentor in your scholars' education. Hang on just one second. That's not looking right to me. One moment. I'm going to change my view really quickly. Sorry, I was making your screen look funny just for a minute. Okay, starting back from the beginning, finding my spot. Okay. All right, okay. So scholars will be able to benefit from the daily interactions from their John Adams Academy mentors who are trained in the art of mentoring, which we use here at the Academy. All the instruction that is live, it has a live interaction with their peers or with their teacher, we're going to call synchronous instruction. So you'll see that word a lot. And I'm sure you're probably used to it because of COVID distance learning, but just in case we need a definition. And then scholars will also benefit from flexible times to complete their independent work. And this is what we call asynchronous. So any work that can be done just with the scholar at any time that they choose. Okay. So here's the model schedules, and they're broken up by grade level. And so for TK through second grade, Monday through Thursday, this is what the synchronous schedule is going to look like. They will have 3 mentoring blocks that includes a flag ceremony in the morning. They will also have a substantial break between the instructional blocks so that they can eat, stretch their legs, go jump on the trampoline for a minute, maybe do a little bit of their asynchronous work before they hop on again so they can get that rest and not experience the Zoom fatigue, which we all have probably experienced that at one time or another in this past year. The afternoons are going to be kept for independent work. And again, that asynchronous work that we call it, You can do it any time of the day. Don't feel like you have to keep it till the afternoon. So if your scholars are early risers like mine, maybe you're doing it in the morning before their synchronous block starts. Teachers will also have office hours to schedule meetings with parents or with scholars if that's needed, and then any additional small groups. So they will probably utilize some small groups during mentoring blocks, but if they feel, especially in kindergarten, TK kindergarten and first grade, they do a lot of reading, um, groups or centers to help practice and build that skill of learning to read. And so some of those additional groupings, if they feel it's needed for some scholars, would also be in the afternoon. So Friday is going to be more flexible. We will have a synchronous time in the morning for flag and some community building. And then after that, it'll kind of be up to the teacher's discretion. We are going to ask the teachers to make sure that parents are notified at least a month in advance of what the schedule might be. So if they want to meet on a Friday for a special show and tell, or if they want to meet for a special presentation, that they need to schedule those out well in advance so that you can know that ahead of time. We also are excited to look forward to having some, field trips, whether school sponsored or parent, led or organized, times on Fridays, and also maybe some park days or getting together for that social aspect between the parents and the scholars, which is so important. So some guidelines for the asynchronous or the independent work will look something like this. And I just want to preface it with, this is just an average because every scholar is different and they work at different paces. So for some, they might whiz through things, pretty quickly. And for others, it might take them a little bit longer, but this is kind of the guideline we use for kind of an average paced scholar. And so you can kind of see what the asynchronous work is, plus the reading. And you'll notice through all of this that we have a pretty substantial amount, especially as the scholars get older, of reading time. That is something that is we do also in the in-person class. It is key to our classical leadership education model. And it's also one of the greatest ways to build vocabulary and comprehension in children is through reading or being read to. And so it's definitely a pillar of our program. So now I'm going to move on to a 3rd through 6th grade. So their schedule is a little bit different and that their breaks are a little bit shorter. And then you will see that the first instructional block is kind of the same, about 15 minutes for flag, and then about 30 minutes of instruction or mentoring. And then a 15-minute break, and then they have 2 1-hour breaks after that for the teacher to utilize. That doesn't mean they're going to sit on Zoom for a whole straight hour and stare at the screen, but that the teacher knows they have that in mentoring or instructional period. And so if they want to do some whole group and then maybe utilize some breakout rooms or maybe have some small groups built into that time, they can use that. And then you'll see the afternoon again is for that independent work, the teacher office hours, and additional small groups as needed for tutoring or things of that sort. Friday will be the same for these grade levels. We'll have that flag time, that community time every morning on Friday, and then the teachers may schedule some additional synchronous instruction as needed, again with that kind of month in advance guideline. So for 3rd through 6th grade, for their asynchronous work, you can see again, this 30 to 40 minutes for 3rd grade right here, or the 50 to 60 minutes, that'll be, their writing, they're, doing their math problems, things like that. And then you'll have that reading. So our guide at John Adams Academy is about 10 minutes per grade level. So you'll see as the grade levels increase, the reading increases about 10 minutes. Okay. And that is daily. All right. Okay, so speaking about our teachers for the elementary program, we are very fortunate. The majority of our elementary team are current teachers in our John Adams Academy model, which is very exciting. They come from different campuses, and they're really a great team as they've been working together and creating our scope and sequence and our online lessons that we've been working hard on since school got out. They're really a great team. The elementary teachers will be specializing in different subjects, And so realize that your scholar will not have the same teacher for every subject all of the time, but there will be some sharing in that, which is also something that we encourage in our model, because our curriculum, even for the young scholars, is more rigorous and requires a little bit more planning and thought than maybe a typical more scripted curriculum. And so when the teachers specialize, then they're able to really focus and kind of hone in their time and their skill. Did Miss Olivia Nozel make it on our Zoom?
I did. Hi, Megan. Hi.
This is Mrs. Nozel, and she is one of our elementary teachers. And so I wanted to give her a chance to just introduce herself. And you can put a face to one of our teachers. And I worked with her for the past 2 years at the El Dorado Hills campus. So I was very excited when she decided to come and join us online. So Olivia, will you just introduce yourself for a little bit and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Olivia Nozel. Like Megan said, I've been with John Adams now for the last couple of years. This will be my 3rd year, but this will actually be my 8th year of teaching. I've been blessed to experience all different types of education. I've taught at high-ranked public school districts. I've taught at those expensive private schools, and then I've taught here at John Adams, and I've genuinely found that I've kind of, I guess, in my own teaching career, found my home with John Adams. I think that the model is exactly what every teacher hopes to find in their career, because we're teaching for the whole scholar and not just the curriculum and for the grades and the data. So I feel very fortunate that I get to have this platform and to teach scholars. Not only did I have the opportunity in person, but because of the pandemic and my own maternity leave, which kind of ironically synced up, I got to experience teaching online last year. So I'm kind of already familiar with how this goes. And I will tell you all that I was pleasantly surprised to see how we can actually foster relationships that felt just like the ones I had in person with my students. And I'm really excited to kind of get the ball rolling again this year. So it's really nice to meet you all. And our elementary team is awesome. A lot of us have already worked together before for the last few years. So yeah, I'm very excited for the school year to get going.
Thank you, Ms. Nozel. We're excited to have you for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, just gonna share my screen again. Okay, so moving to the secondary, which is our 7th through 12th grade. And so with their schedules vary a little bit by grade level. And so I just gave a general view. They will start at the same time, 8:30. They will end around 12:10. They will also have breaks built in throughout their synchronous time. We will be following an A-B schedule. So that means they'll have some classes on A days, which are Mondays and Wednesdays, and then some classes on B days, which are Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you can kind of see how the breakdown is going to be for the synchronous sessions. So for the humanities, which is our block that we use and is very typical in classical schools, to have your English, your history, your logic, all in one, taught by one teacher, so that we're able to really unify that experience, because there's so much crossover in that. So they will have 2 90-minute sessions a week, and then 2 shorter sessions of 45 minutes a week. And then math and science will have 1 90-minute session a week, and then 1 45-minute session a week. Latin will have 2 45-minute sessions, and then VAPA, which is our visual and performing arts. And so we are on the hunt for an awesome music teacher and art teacher, and then also looking at doing PE as well. They would have 2 45-minute sessions a week. And then again, the afternoons would be for office hours, tutoring as needed that the teachers can schedule, or the parents. And then again, Friday would be, they'll have a synchronous leadership time, which our leadership program is something that is very unique to John Adams, and is one of my favorite things about our program. And so they will continue to do that online. And so Friday they will have a longer 45-minute to an hour leadership session in the morning, where they get to really practice their skills of collaborating with their peers, problem solving, and those types of things. Okay, my chat box is blinking here, so let me open it. Okay. I just have a question about Spanish. So this must be a high school scholar if they already took Spanish for their first year. If they're a high school scholar and they took Spanish for their first year, Mrs. Gerber, then when Dr. Meeks gives you a call for your orientation for your scholar, he will ask you what classes they've already taken so they can build their schedule. So if they need Spanish, then we will look at utilizing that through a third party with having a teacher do some check-ins for that. Okay, but be sure to bring that up with Dr. Meeks when he makes that call. Okay, so synchronous work for 7th and 8th, we'll have that reading time again that increases 10 minutes, right? 70 minutes for 7th, 80 minutes for 8th. Humanities on top of that will have an additional about 15 to 20 minutes depending per day, mainly for writing. And then the other subjects will have 30 minutes on days they don't have class of asynchronous work, and then about 15 minutes on days that they do have class. And again, these are guidelines, but kind of built around, again, that average scholar pace. And then for high school, they also are going to have their synchronous sessions in the morning. They will be finished at 12:45 p.m. They will also have breaks built into their schedule. It will also be an AB schedule. And so if you look at high school, the humanities, math, science, and Latin will have two 90-minute sessions. Sorry, I don't think Latin should be there. That was a typo, my mistake. So the humanities, math, and science will have two 90-minute sessions, and then their Latin and their VAPA, which is again their visual performing arts, or any electives that they might need for graduation, will be 45-minute sessions. Again, the afternoons will look the same with the office hours and the tutoring, and Friday also will look the same as the secondary, as the middle school, with that longer synchronous leadership session, and then scheduled times with the teacher as needed. Dr. Meeks, is there anything that I messed up on or you would like to clarify?
No, I thought you did great. It looks good, Megan.
Okay. All right. Well, this is Dr. Meeks, and he is our assistant director, and he will be supporting a lot of the secondary program with their scheduling. He'll also be teaching biology, which will be very exciting. He's excited to do that.
You bet.
So, yes, thanks for being here tonight. So for 9th and 12th grade, for asynchronous, again, we see that reading by 10 minutes by grade level. And then that 15 to 20 minutes a day for humanities, and then that 30 minutes a day per subject approximately for completing all of their work. And so we are also very fortunate that the majority of our secondary team are current John Adams Academy teachers from multiple campuses. We also have some teachers who are teaching for the online program in secondary on like their prep, so they might be teaching in person, and then on their prep they're teaching online for us. And so we're really excited about the team that we have built for that. And Mrs. Wood is actually with us tonight. She's one of our secondary teachers. So Mrs. Wood, would you like to unmute and share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Casey Wood. I have been at the El Dorado Hills campus for the last 3 years, and so this will be my 4th year at John Adams. I did a little bit before I was in a secondary humanities teacher. I taught at the Roseville campus briefly in 4th grade. So yeah, I'm just really excited to be here. Before I came to John Adams, I was subbing. My husband and I had just moved from Southern California to Northern California in the middle of the year, and I was subbing at different places, trying to figure out where I was going to work the next year. And I just happened upon John Adams and subbed at all of their different campuses, and it was definitely something that I had been looking for, somewhere where I wanted to teach, where, you know, we actually read books. In my, you know, credential program, getting your credential, I would talk to other teachers and they'd be like, oh, well, we don't really read books. We just like read excerpts of books. And I was devastated. So I was looking for somewhere where we actually read. I'm a literature major, so I'm so glad we emphasize our classic books, but kind of like what Ms. Nozel was talking about, we also, we focus on your children as human beings. So we're not just emptying, you know, knowledge into their head, dumping knowledge into their head. We're trying to help them become better people. So I love working here. I'm so glad I have the opportunity to reach more families now online, and especially with secondary, we really have the unique opportunity to do a lot more mentoring online because we have this flexible schedule, especially on Fridays. You get to check in every single day. We have that leadership time built in. So we still are keeping our John Adams Academy culture, but we also have this flexible schedule where you can just kind of speak into the kids a little bit more and just get to know them. So I'm really excited about being here online with you all.
Thank you, Mrs. Wood. And I was fortunate enough too to work with Mrs. Wood at the El Dorado Hills campus, and was also her induction mentor. So we've had a lot of good times together and good chats about wonderful books that we love. So that is fun. Thank you, Mrs. Wood. Okay, so I wanted to show you briefly. So our learning management system, like we said, is Canvas, and so our teachers have been working very diligently in designing our courses and getting them onto the LMS, or the learning management system, which is Canvas. And so we have, I'm going to show you a template tonight that we have, just so you get a look. And this is the secondary template. And so let me switch my screen here. Hopefully. All right. Can you see that? All right. And so we have some learning designers who are helping get the content in. And then we also have a designer who makes it all look nice. And so we're very fortunate in that. So we're excited with this template, and we hope, we plan for the July 14th parent meeting. We'll actually have some courses fully loaded in. We have some that are being loaded in, but we want to kind of finish those up, and then we will show you more what it will look like in elementary and in secondary. So right now the teachers are working out designing all of the learning activities for the first month of school. And so they're going through each day, they're going through their scope and sequence, and they're creating those learning activities, and then they're uploading them into Canvas. So we are busy bees over here getting our everything in line so that we are ready to go on August 9th. And so that's all I had prepared. So I would love to open the floor. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to unmute yourself, or you can type them in the chat if you feel more comfortable. And again, any scholars, if you would like to also do that, we would love to hear from you as well. So the floor is yours. I'm just going to open my chat really quick to make sure that I have it all open. So any questions that you might have?
Megan, can you tell us what computer is going to be the best? Is a Chromebook okay, or are they better off to have a desktop computer?
Oh, thank you. Wonderful question. So we will be providing a device for the scholars to use, and we are currently we are going to be using probably Microsoft for secondary. We might continue with Chromebooks for elementary, just because they're they won't do as much on the computer as a secondary, but we're still looking into that. But there will be a device provided. I think if you would like to use your own device, we plan on having some communication once we figure out what all of the technology will be, to see what the compatibility will be, and then we could give some direction as to what type of device you could do that. And so then we'll say, oh, if you want your own device, it has to have these qualifications in order to work with these different programs that we're doing, but we will provide for you as well. Yes, go right ahead.
Really quick question. In the last semester, we saw a lot of work that had to be done online because it's easier to verify and submit, etc. Is there something which allows them to write more on, like whether it's their notebooks or worksheets, so that they don't have to be in front of the screen while sort of going through the material?
Did your scholar attend John Adams Academy for distance learning?
Yeah.
What grade?
Third and sixth.
Third and sixth.
Yeah.
So I think that we are utilizing a lot of the same, the exact same curriculum they would have had, right, just for the next grade level. And so there is, writing. We've talked a lot about that as a team, talking about how much screen time, should the scholars have. Yeah. And so we are being cognizant of that. I think definitely in secondary, there will be more, definitely in secondary, there will be more typing just because they're able to, right, for essays and things like that. But that is something that we've kept in mind, and we would like them, especially for the younger grades, to keep doing, their handwriting and then just taking pictures. We're also going to have a document camera for elementary, at least, where they'll be able to project what they're writing to the teacher, even during their Zoom sessions. So they'll be able to see live, what the scholar's doing, like, solve that math problem for me, let me see it, or what, diagram that sentence, or whatever it might be, to be able to see that. So great question. Yes, we hope to have not on the screen all day.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think, something that's important for parents to realize is, we are developing this program. We've learned a lot from the past year, but we'll be continually reaching out to you for feedback, versus, in this kind of a format, and also with surveys. And so being sure to participate in those, so that we're able to see, from your end, how things are going, and how, and how it's working for your family and your scholars, so we can, adjust accordingly. So we can make sure that we're utilizing our model to the fullest. Thank you for that question. So someone said you haven't received an email for your orientation call. So Dr. Meeks and I are going through the 100 and where are we, 110 orientation calls that we're doing. And so we're making our way through the list. Don't worry, you're on the list. I've seen every name on here. And so as long as you've received the email with the video to watch, then you're on our spreadsheet, and we are, working as fast as we can. Our third helper will be back from vacation this week, and we're excited, aren't we, Dr. Meeks? We've barely survived without her. But yes, we are working our way through those. So don't worry, and we will get to you. Okay. Will the work be submitted electronically, or do they turn it in different days in the month? So the work will be submitted electronically. So if it's, handwriting, or if it's, work pages or things like that weren't completed online, then, pictures or scans of those things will be uploaded. The teachers, we are going to be very cognizant in having a uniform due date and time between all of the grade levels, because we realize that as parents, especially if you have multiple children, if a teacher wants something on Monday and this teacher wants something on Thursday, and this teacher is midnight and this teacher is 5, it's way too difficult to keep track of. And so we will have a uniform set time, so that it's Tuesdays and Fridays, or whatever, times of the week. If it's once a week or twice a week, you'll know that these are the days that we turn in our work samples. Okay. Curious about the materials for second grade scholar. Does my child need to be wearing a school uniform for classes online? So for materials, we provide all of their curriculum. We will provide their device, and and any other technology that we'd like to utilize, like that document camera, which might be a possibility that we want to use for elementary, especially. And then, sorry, can you hang on one moment? I think my 2-year-old snuck in. 1 second. I'll be right back. Dr. Meeks, can you see the chat? Can you talk about the uniform
Nope.
for a minute?
Okay, yeah, I can't see the chat, but sure.
Will you talk about that for a second? I'll be right back.
Sure.
So sorry.
So when we the polos that you've worn previously will still be in effect for online learning. So you'll want to have your scholar wear their polos. And then if we do an on-site event, then they would need to be in full uniform. And I can't see the chat, so if somebody wants to chime in for a question, go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Winton.
So actually what my question was more of the materials for the second graders, like what they're learning.
Olivia, do you want to just briefly make a comment about that?
Yeah, so do you mean specifically in the curriculum, the topics they'll be learning about?
Yes.
Okay, so for second grade, we have a few different curriculum programs. One is called Core Knowledge Language Arts, CKLA. And this is a great curriculum. You're welcome to look it up on Google. I think the website's called Amplify. That's the parent company. But it's a great curriculum that has all of our kind of history and science and different units that include a lot of great vocabulary and grammar. And that's going to be like a really big chunk of second grade curriculum, along with our Think Math as well, Singapore Math. But yeah, sorry, Megan, if there's any other important second grade curriculum you wanted to note on other than CKLA and the Singapore Math, those are like the two big ones I know that we're going to be focusing on.
Yes. And they will also have some cursive writing because they start learning cursive in end of first grade and in second grade. So they'll have a book for that. And then they'll have their classic novels and stories that we'll also use. Thank you, Mrs. Nozel, for filling in there. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Okay. So can you tell me more about the Friday activities and socialization specifically for elementary grades? What we hope to have is we have some school sponsored or organized, activities for in-person, and then also utilizing the parents. So with our parent service organization, in person, we usually have, room parents that kind of help organize things with the teachers. So we're hoping to have something like that for online, so that those parents of different grade levels can kind of organize some gatherings or get-togethers on Friday. So, if it's a park day or if it's, a field trip of, hey, let's go to, the aquarium, or let's meet, this spot, they can just, have a time and place, to meet. And then those who would like to participate, are able to. It's completely optional, and you can do it according to what your schedule, might allow. So for all the school sponsored activities, just so you know, scholars do need to be fully immunized in order to participate in those. And so if your scholar is not fully immunized, then sadly, they will not be able to participate. And then I'm still getting clarification from our legal team, if it's organized by parents, even though we're affiliated through the school, if scholars who aren't vaccinated fully are able to participate. So I will have an answer on that. But that's kind of what we're thinking. Some field trips, some, park days, and some gatherings like that are most likely going to be more organized by the parent. And then we can have some teacher organized in there as well.
I just wanted to clarify something.
Yes.
I've seen in the orientation video about the volunteer hours, and is that also a requirement for all scholars?
Wonderful question. I've had another parent ask me this question. So, it's something that we ask. It's not a requirement. So I just want you to know that we do highly encourage it because we love our parents, to be involved and to feel, part of the school, and their scholars really love to see their parents, being a part of the school in that way. So I'm not quite sure what that will look like for online. We haven't tackled that yet. And I'm hoping that through collaborating with you as the parents, we'll be able to come up with some things that would be a meaningful way for parents, to be involved and to be able to serve. But we know it may not look exactly, it won't look exactly like in person. And so kind of thinking of ways that we can do that will take some creativity and collaboration on our part. But we look forward to, building that, over the first year as we, collaborate with you. But you can always ask your teacher. That's what I would always say as an on-site administrator. I was like, always ask your teacher. And if they have anything that they could use help with, they'll let you know. I have a question about the wait list. And so Let me make sure I'm understanding the question correctly. Oh, yes. So, if you're currently on, enrolled online, but you're on the in-person wait list, which there are a lot of you who are in that situation. So if a spot becomes available in person, you can, of course, take that position, that you can take that spot, right? So as you're learning online and as your wait list changes for in person, if a spot becomes available to you, then you would just notify us and saying, hey, we got our in-person spot. And then we'll say, we're so sad to lose you, but so glad that you're still at John Adams Academy. And then we will make that change internally. So yep, that's not a problem at all. But you do need to stay on the wait list. So make sure that you stay on the wait list for your in-person site if that's what you want to do. Are masks required for after-school activities and for the in-person meet and greet coming up at school? Also, we do have medical exemptions in place. So I will have to look into that because I know they gave some different guidelines for summer school. And I'm hoping that, our events will be technically in summer. So I was assuming that we'd be able to kind of use those guidelines for that. And really for the park day, the meet and greet for the teacher, that's at a park and it's a little bit more informal. And so I'm not going to be going around policing that some people should be masked or not. If you would like to wear a mask because you feel more comfortable, please do so. But that's not something that, we're going to police or enforce that. And so we'll have to check for the remainder of the school year. I have heard that new guidelines are supposed to come out soon. I don't know what soon means because last year soon meant the last week of July. So when the state gave out the guidelines for the upcoming school year. So I hear that they're in the process, but there's no ETA on an exact date for that. So whatever those might be, we would be expected to meet those when we have our school sponsored on-site days on campus. But as far as parent, get-togethers or things like that, or field trips, that would depend on the place you're going. But it wouldn't be, an expected or an enforced thing. So good question. Is there a life science class for 7th grade and what does that involve? So we do integrated science. And so we have an awesome science teacher that we've hired this year. I'm really excited for her to join our team. And so yes, they will have a science class. We'll follow that. But again, it is integrated. We don't do domain-based science in middle school. So it is integrated. As far as the exact scope and sequence, there is a lot of, again, it's kind of touching on different areas. And so there are life science pieces built into that, earth science as well, built into that throughout the school year. Also, where do you find the dentist uniform coupon? So once you've completed your phone orientation with us, you will receive a voucher via email. And so once you've completed that, we have a spreadsheet that we fill out and then the admissions department will send that to you for your voucher. Hang on, sorry, my chat doesn't want to scroll down for me so I can see. Apologies. Again, I have a question about a device. We will be providing a device for every scholar if you would like to use it. Again, if you don't want to use a school device, then when closer to August, we will provide some guidelines as to what your device would need to, have the capability it would need for that. Is all online learning Zoom based? The synchronous sessions will be Zoom based. We've done quite a bit of research and it has the most diverse features for learning and teaching for online. So we've decided to stay with that like we used last year. I know some people use Google Meet, but we decided to go with Zoom. Sorry. Is there an advanced math option for scholars? Are they able to test out and go to the next learning? So in elementary school, which is TK through 6th grade, John Adams Academy, we do not accelerate grade levels. Our math curriculum is quite challenging. I don't know if your scholars already been with Singapore math for a while, or if they're new to it. If they're new to it, there's usually a pretty challenging learning curve for scholars that they participate in. My hope is that through this online format, having been a teacher myself, I see all of the potential for me to be able to differentiate even better online than I'm able to in person, because I have more flexibility of time. And so our hope would be, when our data comes in, and when we're able to kind of see our learning groups, the teachers will see, what those different groups might be, and be able to do some, enrichment activities for scholars who, might be more developed in, math or in reading or things like that, so they can be with, other peers and feel challenged in that, as well as for those who might struggle. As far as secondary goes, we do level math in secondary. So that means that if you come into 7th grade, and if you've already completed math, or if you've been in advanced math before, if you were at John Adams Academy, we're able to take data and teacher recommendations from those teachers to see if you can skip, a math level. So if you go from, 6th grade straight into pre-algebra, straight into 8th grade math, or things like that. Those are all things you communicate to Dr. Meeks at the orientation. So if they are already accelerated, or if you said, oh, we're already part of John Adams, we already talked to the teacher, it was already planned, then, we would just, reach out and verify. They usually have those scholars on a list that they've kept for that transition into 7th grade. How many scholars in so how many scholars are per grade level? We have currently right now we have between 10 and 15 per grade level. And so I'm expecting to have that, between 15 and 20 about per grade level by the time school begins. I think it will also depend on what the guidelines will be for mask wearing and things like that in the fall. So we'll have to kind of see what those guidelines are. That might affect some parents' decisions. Will they potentially be an expansion of in-person slots in the future? Well, that all depends on building, I suppose, and it's kind of a per campus decision. I know that Roseville, no, because they're maxed out. Lincoln will be maxed out pretty soon, and I know they've expanded a lot this year. And then El Dorado Hills, there's a hope to attain another building, and so that is a goal for the future, just so you know. Should we unenroll at the school? Should we unenroll at the school we are signed up to attend? Wonderful question. And so when your registration is complete, we will actually notify the school, because we'll request their CUME record, which is their file that follows them through all of their learning. And so you don't have to, but it doesn't hurt. You can if you would like. Usually parents do both. Usually they'll let the admissions office know at their previous school, and then we obviously request the record, and so they also are notified that way as well. So questions for scholars in Lincoln: will they be required to go to the El Dorado Hills meet and greet, or will there be one done for Lincoln? So the teacher meet and greet, school sponsored, we're only able to do one just because there's not a lot of time. And when we got onto that, unfortunately, a lot of the parks were already scheduled that had a water feature, and I really wanted a water feature because it's very hot. So we have scholars present. It'd be nice to have them have a place to play that they won't be done in 5 minutes because it's 110 degrees. And so, so we're not planning on having that. However, we have reached out to the PSOs at the different campuses to see if they might have the bandwidth to have some type of gathering before school starts with, like maybe Lincoln families and things like that. And so I haven't heard back from them because I know it's busy time for them too, but we have looked into that as well. Who is the nurse? We have 2 school nurses currently, and I think they've just hired a 3rd one. But we have Kristen Barber is a school nurse, and then we also have I can't remember her last name. Her first name is Gladdy, but I can't remember her last name. Oh dear, that's because she wasn't a nurse at my site. We had Mrs. Barber at El Dorado Hills. I'm sorry, I don't remember the other nurse's name. Is there tutoring for math if needed? Yes, there will be. And so as the school year kind of picks up and we get kind of into the groove and the teachers are able to kind of see the levels of the scholars, we'll definitely start implementing those either with the teacher or with aides that we might have available also. Ooh, great question from a scholar. The life science class sounds great, and will there be hands-on experiments that we can do from home? Yes, we want to be able to. One thing our science teachers talked about was how creative they got in designing labs that could be done with household products. So they're like, we, and not only them, but they're like, and all the other teachers in the country also got really good at thinking of those types of labs. So we are planning on having those types of things available, and also some of those in-person site days. We're hoping to have, if the science teacher wants to do a really fun science experiment, they can do that on a, at an in-person optional day as well. Okay, those are some wonderful questions, and that's the last I see in my chat. And so if anyone else has a question they'd like to unmute and ask, feel free to do so. And I can also put our teachers on the spot. If you have a question you'd like to ask them, you can.
I had a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Do you know what visual and performing arts you're planning on having? As I know you said you're still looking on hiring. Is it going to be like band, choir, what kinds of anything like that?
So we're looking for a music teacher and an art teacher predominantly. And then as far as what that looks like, we have a learning designer who's specifically a vocal performance musician, a learning designer who's been doing a lot of learning design for online music. I'm a musician myself, and trying to figure out how to teach music online would take a lot of creativity, I think, especially because of lag time. And so we're looking into that. We're going to be designing that a little bit later because that learning designer isn't available until August. So I don't have particulars about exactly what we would teach. But I know in middle school, kind of our scope and sequence for our program is they do, music appreciation, music history. They do a little bit of theory, and then they do and they also do vocal. So that's kind of what it entails in middle school. And then in high school, it tends to be more focused on what the music teacher's specialty is. And so ours for in-person learnings tend to be local. And so it tends to be a choir or things of that sort.
Great, thank you.
Okay, yes. Someone asked for PE. Will PE be required for online? So we're currently building our PE. We have the Roseville PE teacher who's done an amazing job with us this summer. And so PE will be asynchronous. So that means there'll be, either videos or lessons or activities that the scholars will participate in. But it will be done asynchronously. And so for elementary, we do PE, art, and music in elementary, and then we'll have those same options for secondary as well. And so for middle school, it would just be part of their elective rotation. And so it might be, I have PE and music for this. So I'll have my PE class that I'll be doing asynchronously, and then I'll have my music class. And then for high school, they get to choose. So they get to choose for art, music, or PE, what they want to do. If they're an incoming ninth grader, we always encourage them to do art or music because they get their elective out of the way. They get that requirement out of the way for graduation. It gives them more flexibility in their schedule for 10th, 11th, and 12th, which they always like. So we always encourage that, but they can choose. What is the name of the math curriculum for the 7th graders? We use Singapore math, and it's called Dimensions. And I'm really excited about middle school math because we actually have one of our mentor teachers. A mentor teacher is a teacher who's taught at John Adams Academy, who's a master teacher and really understands our model. And so she'll be teaching the math for 7th and 8th. And so we got really lucky. I'm excited about that. Can the kids qualify for the cross-country team? Yes. So Dr. Meeks had a meeting today with the headmasters of each site. And so we're currently trying to collect what each site provides for sports or enrichment We're also talking about ways in which you can be kept in the loop and communicated on those things. But yes, online scholars will be able to participate in sports. They will need to meet the vaccine requirement to be able to do so. And we're also looking to see what other enrichments that might be available through that site that the scholars would be able to do. So we'll have more information. Typically, the enrichments don't start usually until September, depending on which sport is first, but we are having those conversations, so you'll have that information and be able to choose kind of, and your scholars will be able to choose if they'd like to participate in any of those. Wonderful. Any other questions you might have? I always put an awkward silence when I ask that question because I know there's someone who's probably frantically trying to type and doesn't want me to stop the session until they've typed their full question. But it's been a pleasure to be with you this evening. I'm glad you were able to be here and meet some of our teachers and to meet Dr. Meeks as well. And, you know, as a team, we are working hard and plugging along and designing our curriculum and the program for online. And we're really putting together some excellent, you know, quality lessons and instructional design. I'm really pleased with how it's coming together. And so keep your eye out for the July 14th. We'll have another parent information night. We'll be able to release more information. We're hoping on the learning design and also some more about enrichments and then other things that, you know, come up, especially as we do orientations that we see would be beneficial to bring up at that meeting. And then you can always email online at johnadamsacademy.org, Dr. Meeks and myself, and then Carissa Borgia, who's our assistant dean. We check those, and so we'll be able to respond to you in that way as well. And then we also have our teacher meet and greet on the 16th of July. And so we'll have, not all of our teachers, but we'll have a lot of our teachers there and hope to be able to, you know, have scholars meet some people and parents meet each other. And kind of be able to do that before we see each other in August, the 5th and the 6th, where we hope to have, hopefully by our meeting on July 14th, kind of what those days will look like for August 5th and 6th for our kind of kickoff. We want them to be informational. We want them to be able to get all of their curriculum, but we also want to be able to do some community building and some fun together with the teachers and the scholars. And so we're working on that schedule and hope to have that to you. So, you know, if it's both days, if it's half a day, if it's all day, you know, that information, because I know that's helpful. Someone asked, they're enrolled for Lincoln Online, and would there be able to be a tour for the campus at some point? So I know that this year we kind of weren't able to do in-person tours because of COVID, but typically each campus has tours that they do usually on a monthly basis. And so those should be advertised on the Lincoln campus site if they're able to do those, and if they feel like they're able to bring the public in to do that, then they usually have those monthly. So you could definitely sign up for one of those, and then you could get a tour of the campus, which would be really fun. It's beautiful, I know. When you see us, I got to see it for the first time right before school ended, and it's a beautiful campus to see for sure. Well, wonderful. Thank you for being here tonight, and we look forward to seeing you on July 14th for an information, and then at our meet and greet. Yes. Does someone want to say something before we leave? We're good. Well, I hope you have a wonderful evening. You're welcome. It was a pleasure. So nice to see you and meet you all. Have a wonderful night.